Hello, this is Brenda Clark Hamilton. This past week, I learned a new lesson about communication, ironically, because I speak on communication often. And of course, two of the main points I talk about is the importance of being an active, respectful listener, being engaged. And the other thing is making sure that you're communicating with your audience in mind, whether that be an audience of 1 or 1,000, considering what's their point of view. But I think I would have been remiss a little bit in one aspect of communication. And I learned a lesson last week, kind of in a painful way, in my personal life. What happened is my dad, who is 93, and we adore him, he and mom still live at home. He fell down with COVID, came down with COVID. And so he had been diagnosed, and then the doctor sent him home to rest. And last Wednesday evening, he became very ill in the evening. And so they called the ambulance and got him to the local hospital, and he was very, very ill. And the 5 children we have, my siblings and I, we have a group chat that's very, very active. And my one sister was at the hospital with him and communicating with us about the condition in the state throughout that entire evening. And as it got closer to 10, 11 p.m., she said, I'm wondering, I've been here a long time, if I should head home, could one of you come over and take over and spend the night with Dad? Which is a pretty typical thing we've done through the years when they've had different things. We stay overnight in their hospital room. So I said, yeah, I can, not a big deal. I'll make arrangements for that. I should arrive about 1 a.m. I have an hour drive to get there. And then after that, I'll just spend the night and someone can take over in the morning. So that's what I did. I got ready, got showered, dressed, headed over that way. It's about an hour drive. When I got about 5 minutes from the hospital, literally a couple blocks away, my sister called and said, you're not going to believe this. They're saying you can't see Dad, that I need to leave now, and that no visitors are going to be allowed, much less overnight. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I drove to the hospital, parked my car, went in, talked to the receptionist, explained that I'd driven an hour. Could I please get a chance to see my dad, if only for a few minutes? And she called up to the unit and they said, yes, you can come in for 10 minutes, but you may not stay overnight. So I went up there, just spent 10 minutes with him. He was sleeping, and so I just prayed over him. And then I left and drove an hour home. Again, we're arriving home at 2 a.m. It was not the ideal situation. But looking back on this, I think about communication, and a key aspect is asking the right questions, not just assuming everything's going to be as it always has been. I know, looking back, my sister, who was there with the nurses, should have asked, I have a sister coming over, she wants to spend the night, she's driving an hour to get here. Is this going to be okay in this situation? I should have asked my sister, hey, did you check with them to make sure before I drive over there during the night that it's going to be okay for me to stay and to visit? The nurse probably should have asked. I think she understood that I was coming over from what my sister said. Should have asked, is she planning on staying, or is she driving here for 10 minutes? So I think for all of us, sometimes we kind of assume everything will fall in place, and we need to remember to ask the critical questions. I'm leaving here very shortly to visit my son Jake and sit in on one of his classes he's teaching at Iowa State in the engineering department. And he gave me via text the date, the time, where I'm going. And I texted back and said, hey, is there parking nearby? Where should I park? Where do you want me to sit in class? Anything you want me to do or not do during the class? And part of that was just saying, you know what, sometimes we need to ask those critical questions so we don't have any very unpleasant surprises. The good news is Dad is doing much better, and I told him he's like a cat with 9 lives and he's gone through about 4. So anyway, he's doing well. Thanks so much. Ask those questions. Bye-bye.